Elden Ring is a game full of incredibly exciting, unique, and powerful spirit summons. And today, we're not looking at any of that. We're highlighting the rejects, the outcasts, the summons even your mother wouldn't use. But today, they get their shot to prove they aren't as bad as we know that they are. I have leveled these summons up to +9, and we're gonna see how it goes. We're gonna put these spirit summons up against some of the, I wouldn't say too challenging bosses, just to see how they fare and highlight some of their strengths and weaknesses. First, we're gonna look at the Wandering Nobles. First thing that I note about them is they actually have pretty decent, okay damage against some of these bosses, particularly the ones in Liurnia. We put them up against the Erdtree Avatar, and they did okay. I mean, they're not gonna kill the boss, even though they're greatly over leveled. But I was surprised at how much damage they could actually do. They got it pretty low compared to some of the other ones, but they are incredibly weak to AoE. The Erdtree Avatar would do a jumping attack, and it would stagger them immediately. So, and their stance is broken considerably easily. But the whole time I used them, their aggro was actually quite good. They hold aggro really well. At no point did the boss turn towards me or attack me at all. So, and they're good against, I would say, like a single target boss. So like something like, so they did particularly well against the Crucible Knight as well. So I put them up against the Crucible Knight in the cave over in Liurnia, but it was actually the one of the snails summoning in the Crucible Knight. So they handled the Crucible Knight like clockwork. So they're good against their single target bosses, but they didn't kill the boss or anything. Let's not get carried away, but they were okay. But against an AoE boss like the Ancient Dragon Lancex, oh my god, these guys got absolutely melted. They didn't have a chance in hell. So I mean, these guys, they'll carry some weight. I'm not gonna say they're a superstar. They're definitely still some of the worst summons that I've used, but I'd say they're probably close to the top of the table for the worst spirit summons. You know, the cream of the crop of the worst. So, you know, take that as you will. Next, we looked at the Putrid Corpses. They were very surprising, I would say. These guys are actually incredibly tanky, even against some of the later game bosses like the Black Blade Gargoyle in front of the Bestial Sanctum, and they were decent against the Deathrite Bird, who would melt some of the other bosses incredibly quickly. But they did absolutely no damage. I'm talking like zero. Their move is so slow, they don't have a chance in hell at doing damage. But even though they do no damage, they surprisingly hold aggro incredibly well. Every boss that I put them against was completely tunneled on these guys, and they're just a straight meat shield. So honestly, for a caster build like Voldemort here, they're not too bad, I would say. I mean, there's considerably better summons you could use, like the Black Knife Tish or the Mimic Tear, or any of those crazy meta ones, right? Omen Killer Rolo's pretty good, although he's pretty underrated. Maybe I'll do a video touching on some of the underrated spirit summons. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to see something like that. Even against a weaker boss like Wormface, these guys aren't going to do any damage. They're just going to sit there and take damage forever. I might not even put them in the bottom of the barrel anymore, just because of how tanky they are. They might be like a D, C tier spirit summon instead of like an F tier, you know? Like, we're not talking like use them instead of this. If you're a caster, maybe you could give them a try. It might help you out. They're really easy to get, so, you know, it is what it is. Next up, we have a real winner. We have the Misbegotten here, and god, is he terrible. Oh, I mean, he's one of the worst. He didn't have the best aggro. There were some times where the boss would attack me. For the most part, he could hold aggro pretty well. He does very minimal damage for being a +9 spirit summon. When you use this spirit summon, you only get one flying around. He's like a pest. He'll kind of hold aggro, and he'll do a little bit of damage, but he is just absolutely miserable. Every other spirit summon I tried was better than this guy, so there's just not a lot of pros for this guy. I mean, he does his best, but good god. Don't use this spirit summon, guys. Please, do not try. If you're trying to do a meme run, and you're like, oh, let me try some of the worst spirit summons in the game to help me with this terrible build that I'm gonna try, do not give this guy a chance. Just leave him on the bench. Just, he belongs on the, he's a water boy. Just, he'll get the team water, all right? Just leave him on the bench. Against some of the early game bosses, he was still bad, but like against the later game bosses, like the Deathrite Bird, this guy got gobbled up like a worm. We have the last one that I'm gonna highlight here. We have the Giant Rats, and these guys were, they're unique, so when you're powering them up, you just need the Grave Gloveworts, but you don't need any souls to power them up, so most of these spirit summons will take souls, so they're like a budget spirit summon here. As long as you have the Grave Gloveworts, then you're able to put them up. But so that's kind of a pro. I thought I was gonna get some giant rats because the spirit summon's called giant rats. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna get some big rats. I mean, technically these rats are big, but like there's some big ass rats in the game. I'm sure you know which ones I'm talking about. These guys, they didn't make the cut. There's just some of the little rats. You get 4 little rats, and they hold aggro really well. I'll give them that. They're annoying little creatures, and they'll do a decent bit of damage. Not as much damage as, say, the Wandering Nobles would do. I'm not going to give them damage as their best pro. And they're not doing any damage like a meta spirit summon would do, right? So let's not get crazy. Again, these guys are weak to AoE, and they get staggered pretty easily. Just kind of like, they're basically the Wandering Nobles, but they do less damage, and they don't cost any souls to power up, if I had to give them a quick summary. These guys were okay against a dual boss fight, like these pumpkins here. They're not killing anything for you. These guys, they'll distract the guy. They'll do pretty well. So honestly, most of these summons, maybe not the Misbegotten, will distract him long enough for you as a caster, per se, to do some serious damage. But again, you can use some better spirit summons. So maybe in a future video, I'll highlight some of the best spirit summons, but I feel like everybody does that. So I wanted to pick some of the worst for you guys to maybe laugh at and give it a try if you're just bored of the game waiting for the DLC like everybody else and you wanted to try something new and you still wanted to play. So, you know, maybe give these guys a shot if you're looking to do something like that. Maybe take out a torch and beat him with the torch and have the Misbegotten bind. No, don't take him. Just anybody but him, please. In the past, I did 2 videos kind of like this where I looked at how the jellyfish would fare against some of the easiest Elden Ring bosses. And I've also highlighted the Miranda Sprout Ashes. So check out those 2 videos. I'll link them in the description. That's all I got for you guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.